Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking some incredibly candid Q&A responses from a guy who is, without a doubt, a rising global football phenomenon. We're looking at a player whose talent is literally out of this world, yet his daily life is grounded in some very familiar youthful realities. It's this wild duality, right? The elite world-class prodigy mixed with a highly relatable everyday teenager. That's what makes his story so captivating. So, we're gonna break down his unique mindset, his surprising maturity, and honestly, the hilarious everyday moments that remind us just how young he really is.
To kick things off, if you've watched him play, you've probably noticed that famous bandage on his hand. Now, you might assume there's some highly technical sports medicine reason behind it, but the real story? Absolute, relatable teenage rage. He actually punched his TV while playing PlayStation and ended up hurting his fingers. They swelled up, he slapped a bandage on them, and he just kept it because he thought it looked really cool. Specifically, he felt it gave him a Kareem Benzema vibe. It's the perfect hook for us today because it instantly grounds him. Despite the global fame and the immense pressure, at the end of the day, he's still a kid who gets frustrated at video games.
Section 1. Lessons from the pitch. Elite insights from a teenage star.
Now, while his PlayStation habits are pretty typical for his age, his professional timeline is completely accelerated, and this brilliantly illustrates just how mind-bogglingly young he actually is. When asked about his earliest World Cup memories, just consider this for a second. The 2006 World Cup, he wasn't even born yet. 2010, he was alive but has absolutely zero memory of it. His very first football memory on the world stage doesn't happen until 2014, when he was just 3 years old. He specifically remembers that infamous Germany versus Brazil match and the final. It's a really stark reminder of the crazy timeline his life is on right now.
Yet, despite being so young, his perspective is remarkably mature. When reflecting on what he learned from Euro 2024, he talks about overcoming those initial overwhelming nerves. He totally admits to feeling like a kid with butterflies during his first international tournament game. But his takeaway? It's incredibly poised. He learned to just stay calm. He realized that a single bad game doesn't ruin a long tournament. As he puts it, if you have a bad game, you still have 6 more left. There's no rush. That is an elite mindset right there, just having patience and trusting the natural flow of the game.
And you know, that mature perspective bleeds right into the advice he gives to other aspiring players. First off, he emphasizes dreaming big, pointing out that everyone's path is different. You might debut at 16, or hey, you might debut at 27. Second, he totally shatters this illusion of effortless talent. He points out that even the players people think are the least disciplined are still doing the bare minimum work. They're still hitting the gym and preparing. And finally, his core message: enjoy it. Enjoy the beautiful sport. What you should take away from this is a universal lesson on work ethic. Talent alone isn't enough. The preparation is non-negotiable, but if you aren't actually enjoying the process, you're missing the whole point.
Section 2. The normal teenager. Braces, fake names, and scooters. Pivoting sharply away from the serious football talk for a second, we find a highly relatable teenager. Get this, his orthodontist actually playfully scolded him during the Q&A. That's right, even as a global sports star, he can't escape his dentist getting on his case about missing appointments. The orthodontist points out that his braces treatment has had many interruptions and playfully refuses to name whose fault that is, though our guy readily admits it's entirely his own fault. It's such a brilliant, humanizing little detail. And his goal? He's really hoping to finally get those braces off right after the World Cup.
This brings us to one of the most burning questions from his Q&A, and honestly, one of the absolute funniest anecdotes from the source material. Where exactly did the name Ryan come from?
Well, the answer is this: perfect equation of teenage awkwardness and quick thinking. Here's the story. He was at a restaurant in Barcelona just trying to eat when a group of French tourists walked up to him. They asked for a regular photo, but then paused and asked, "Wait, aren't you that footballer?" His immediate panic response was to just lie and say, "No, my name is Ryan." But why Ryan? Because whenever he plays a typical board game that requires making up a character name, he always chooses Ryan simply because he likes it. So in this moment of global recognition, his go-to board game alter ego became his real-life disguise.
Now, what's really interesting is how that fake name spiraled into some major social media confusion. His actual personal TikTok handle is indeed Ryan's Bus 19, so he's keeping the Ryan joke alive. However, some fans stole that exact handle and created a chaotic Twitter account posting absolute nonsense, so he wants to make it abundantly clear. He manages his own personal posts on platforms like TikTok and Instagram. He posts his own comments, his own photos, and takes responsibility when he causes trouble, but he absolutely, definitively does not have a Twitter account.
And looking at his top 3 favorite days outside of football this year really shows you exactly what kind of person he is. He groups his favorite memories beautifully. Number 1, biking all around Paris just to experience the street atmosphere. Number 2, spending a calm evening out for drinks. And number 3, a full day riding scooters around Paris with his friends. As he wisely points out, people might expect a superstar to say their best day was, buying a Lamborghini. Instead, his best days are these totally normal, relatable activities that just let him feel like an everyday person.
Section 3. Opinions, brands, and idols. Business decisions and football hot takes.
Shifting our focus over to the business and analytical side of the game, let's start with his take on underrated players. This segment featured some hilarious comedic banter with his mother, who actually jumps in to argue the true definition of the word with him. He insists that underrated simply means they are better than they seem. When pressed for names, he lists Gerard Martin, Ferran Torres, Fabian Ruiz, Arsenal's Mikel Merino, and Chelsea's Cole Palmer. And when his mom challenges him that Palmer wears the number 10 and ranked super high in the Ballon d'Or, he still staunchly defends his pick. It's a really great glimpse into his analytical football brain when he's just chatting off the clock. So the crucial point on the pitch comes down to this number right here, 6. 6 minutes. When asked about his opinion on VAR, the video assistant referee, he brings up this specific number. Now, he acknowledges that VAR ultimately brings justice to the game, but he offers a really sharp critique. He says stopping a match for 6 whole minutes to check a call severely ruins the flow of the sport he loves. He actually admits to kind of missing the old days of football where, even if a referee made a terrible call against you, the game just kept moving.
But perhaps the most surprising insight into his mindset is his absolute shrewdness in business. When asked why he switched his shoe sponsorship from Nike to Adidas, he breaks it down with the clarity of a veteran CEO. He looked at Nike and saw they already had massive stars like Mbappe and Vinicius. He knew that as a 15-year-old at the time, he would just be another name on their roster. Adidas, on the other hand, offered him a huge spot to essentially be the new face of their brand. He trusted himself, backed his own potential, and made a highly calculated decision to carve out his own legacy. I mean, that is an incredibly impressive business mindset for a teenager.
We see that exact same immense maturity when he reflects on individual awards. In the source material, he discusses the moment Ousmane Dembélé won the Ballon d'Or. He admits that on that day he honestly thought he was going to win it himself. But looking back now, he recognizes a profound truth. He says he was just a kid, and he wouldn't have truly appreciated what it meant to win it. He states that Dembélé winning was actually really good for him. It helped him mature, get back on his feet during a tough time, and grow personally. Recognizing your own unreadiness, that's a rare trait at any age.
Section 4. The World Cup Promise. Looking ahead to the USA.
Building towards his future goals, when asked what he's most looking forward to in the USA, his answers are just wonderfully endearing and simple. He's excited to experience a different culture and feel the World Cup atmosphere in a totally new place. He is highly anticipating the fast food, which he admits he absolutely loves. And finally, he's just excited about waking up in his Miami hotel and looking at the tall buildings. This simple excitement is especially charming when you consider he admits his English vocabulary is, well, highly limited. By his own admission, he mostly just knows how to say ref, yellow card, offside, and I have pain here.
But if he and the Spanish national team actually find success in the USA, you better be prepared for a massive visual change based on a wild promise he made. Step 1, win the World Cup. If that happens, Step 2, he promises to dye his mustache completely white. And Step 3, he will dye all his hair white, like a Brazilian. He's already shown he's pretty superstitious with his hair. He dyed blonde highlights for luck before winning the Euros, and even got them touched up again during this very interview. So this is absolutely a promise he fully intends to keep. Which leaves us with one final lingering question. Will we see a white-haired Ryan holding the World Cup trophy in the near future? I mean, it perfectly encapsulates everything we've unpacked today. You have the elite ambition to conquer the football world, wrapped up in the playful, board game-loving humor of a normal teenager who just wants to ride scooters and eat fast food. It's a duality that makes him impossible not to root for and leaves us all incredibly eager to see exactly how his story unfolds next. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.